Hello and welcome back to part two of the FLPPS Learning Management System demonstration. Today we're going to be going over the user menu. Let's dive in. Navigating to the top left of your screen, you'll see a user menu. Up here, you'll have the ability to, if you want to, sign out of your account. You could also edit your profile, so change the details, your job title. I could actually just show you real quick. So any personal info you have, your first name, your email address, your last name, where you work, what your role is. It's a good place to edit those things. You could also change your password and negotiate some preferences, which is in this case just a language preference. But back to the main screen, you will be able to go from here. This is just another way to get back to your dashboard. So say you're really deep into a course somewhere and you're not sure how to make it to your home page. You click here, brings you back to your dashboard. Very simple. And then my courses and learning plans, that we've already discussed a little bit on the dashboard where it says you're not started in progress under status of assigned training. Here you'll also notice that there's some completed courses. So this is basically everything that's been assigned to you, everything that you're enrolled in, and then you could scroll through, view all, see sort of everything that you have going on within the system. And it tells you all of those. Navigating back to the course catalog, this is one that we already went over in some detail. You'll see it again here. It's another way that you could navigate to your course catalog rather than, I'll show you where it was before. It's also right here. So two different methods to get to the same place, but you'll notice all of your trainings. And another note about course catalog is that you could have, maybe for example, you have an HR group of trainings that you want to assign to all staff and have everybody compliant. But you could also have a set of IT trainings that may not necessarily fit into a learning plan. They could be scattered and non-sequential and not super interconnected, but also just a catalog of IT trainings that are similar enough to group together, but you might not want to assign that to everybody. So you could determine the visibility of those trainings via communicating that with us or setting the visibility yourself for the course catalog. So that's course catalog. Next, we're going to take a look at FLPPS channels, which we've already looked at. It's the file repository area. It's named FLPPS channels in the user menu, as that's what we call it internally, but it's where you would go to store documents and categorize them. So maybe a document area for your HR team, for your IT team, for your operations team, whatever you need to categorize internally for your agency. This is where you would do it. This is an optional extra for anybody looking to sign up for the LMS. A lot of people find it incredibly useful to have a centralized location of documents, but it is not a requirement. So looking at the My Activities tab, you'll notice that there's a lot of data to get through. This whole sidebar each has an individual tab associated with it, but when you load it up, you'll see some information you're familiar with, as well as some cool stuff like when you first signed up, the last time you logged in, the total amount of time that you've spent within the system, how many active courses you have, and it shows you sort of how many active courses or training materials rather that you've accessed within the last 12 months, indicating how many per month that you've looked at. This shows you asset view and shared assets, and the assets that you shared are the things that you've uploaded to the file repository area, the assets being what you've looked at from the file repository area. The three most viewed courses, that shows you how long you've spent in each of the courses that appear here. Your performance, this has to do with a gamification engine that allows you to engage in some friendly competition in the LMS. So, and then this also gives you results according to the trainings that you participated in. So moving on from the statistics section into additional info, this is really just a section mostly for managers, instructors, and admins to add new information beyond what's standard in the system. It's completely configurable. So if you have any additional fields or additional notes about any of your employees or learners, it's a great place to do it. As for courses, this is another place you could view all of the courses you're enrolled in. The sections for e-learning gives you great data like when you were enrolled, if the course has any CEUs, how much time it took to complete, and whether or not you earned a certificate for that course. And the story is the same over in the ILT section of the My Activities tab. It's really just details about how long you had attended for, on what date you were enrolled, whether or not you earned a certificate for it, and your overall enrollment status. And same again for learning plans. You get to see if you earned a certificate and how many courses were in the learning plan. And then external training, we already went over this from the dashboard. You get to add training in from your external training location. So if you took a course outside of the LMS and you want to import it, and then even set a reminder for when you need to recertify for that certification, you could do that here. So the last few sections I'm going to group together overall as sort of an interactive portion of your My Activities. And since I don't have a lot of activity in any of these sections, I'm just going to brush over it real quick. But this gives you an overview of the posts, discussions, whether or not people found it helpful, and your post rating gives you an overtime look at how much participation you've had in the forums. Same with webinars. However, I don't have any data there, so it's not going to show up. Certification, I don't have any personally scheduled recertifications, so it's not going to give me the information there. Questions and answers, I'll give you a look at what that page looks like, even though it's also empty for me. But any questions that I would have answered or questions posted, whether people liked it, disliked it, questions, answers marked as best answer, it just gives you an analytical breakdown of people who participate in asking and answering questions. Same with sharing, whether or not you've shared any content to social media, and see how many views that you would get through there. And your asset ranks also. That's just from the file repository area. You'll see that called assets a lot. It's because it doesn't give you a specified file format. Like it could be an Excel, a PDF, a Word doc, whatever it is. Your assets, they're going to show up here as which ones you use the most. So that's what that is talking about. But that's basically the rundown of the My Activities menu. You could get way more in depth than I just did with it. But as an introduction to that as a functionality, that's the basics. The tab you're going to look at probably the most for yourself in here is this one. It gives you just your overall overview of data, and if you have gamification enabled, it'll show you down here, as well as you'll probably spend some time in the courses tab. These are some of the more important uses of My Activities. Back at the user menu, we're looking at My Calendar. This is sort of exactly how you would expect it to work. It's a calendar. It could be synced with your Outlook or your Gmail calendar, and it shows you any upcoming trainings that you have scheduled. So right now for me, just on the 19th, I have one for HRSA for those COVID trainings that we went over a little bit earlier. But that's my calendar. You could display it monthly, weekly. You could have an agenda view. That's the only thing on my agenda right now. It's a simple calendar application. This could also be implemented as a widget. Remember how we were talking about on the dashboard? Say you wanted this image instead to be your calendar. That is something that can be done as well. But the calendar app is pretty useful for if you're regularly taking many ILTs / webinars. You can keep better track of it within the system here and don't have to rely on external applications, though you could as well. So taking a look under My Calendar, you'll find I added this My Team section, it's a new function where you can go and enroll your teammates in a very convenient way to different courses, to send them an email independently or as a collective. And all you really need to do that is select their names, go down to choose action, and you'll see these options: the sending them an email, enrolling them to content. And for enrolling them to content, you can enroll them to courses or to learning plans. Courses in this case means either ILTs or e-learnings. Let's take a look at what that does. You go into here, you go scroll down, pick a course, and go to next, and it'll show you who you're enrolling and to what you're enrolling them into. And then you would go ahead and click confirm. I'm not going to put more work on my team, but you can go back as well, unselect them, and do this for one person via the ellipse right here. You could also remove them from your team and check out a user summary report. And this will bring you to, remember, the My Activities tab, the statistics section of the My Activities tab. You'll get an overview of all of their ongoing activities in the LMS. And so that's my team in a nutshell. You also get any checklists that have been initiated. That's sort of like a list of things that need to be done, that need to be checked off manually. And then any other reports that your team has active in the LMS, and you could run reports from here. That's basically it for my team. So next up is Instructor Manager tasks. Right now there are no upcoming classroom or webinar sessions, so nothing is going to show up right here. But if you did have an upcoming webinar or ILT, information about that would be right here for you as an instructor to go in and open up the session and do any other things that you need to do associated with preparing the ILT. Over here, you have assignments to evaluate. We talked about those a bit there. If somebody submitted an essay, or in the case of the CPI courses or OASIS courses that are in our system, submitting their certificate for credit for completion. And then over here, if you had assigned any tests that need to be graded with, say, there's an extended response question on as part of your test. Maybe you gave like a 25 question test. There's some multiple choice. There's some match questions, true or falses, and then you have an extended response answer as part of your test. That submission would land right here as well. And that's, once again, in Instructor and Manager tasks. So getting into administrator tasks, you'll notice that this is, once again, yep, you guessed it, the file repository area. But one of the uses we didn't discuss about the file repository area is that you're able to upload spreadsheets that have a roster file of all of your employees. And that makes it really easy and automated for us, the admins that are taking care of your account, to go in and upload users on a regular basis or ad hoc as you need them, but via a CSV file, which is just a comma separated value file. It's a spreadsheet that's been reduced to just the values in the cells, but it allows us to very easily manage users within the LMS. And this is where you would upload it. So finally, we're at the very end of the user menu. It's My Uploads, and this is a place where you could go to find any file that you've uploaded to the file repository area. Pretty useful if you need to find a document, you're not sure where it is organized in your file repository area, but you know you uploaded it recently or a long time ago. You could sort by name A to Z, and newest to oldest, vice versa. And it's just a useful way to track down those pesky documents that got away from you. But overall, that concludes the demonstration of the user menu. And I'm going to pass it back off to myself, and we're going to go over this little gear icon up here, the admin menu. Now, don't be daunted. It'll be fun.